The next nuclear crisis will not announce itself. It will begin with a single missile rising into the night, one bright streak that turns the entire world toward a screen. And in the minutes that follow, that lonely signal will pull generals out of bed, wake presidents in different time zones, and force every nuclear power to ask the most dangerous question on Earth. Is this the start of something bigger? The world today is far more fragile than it appears, because more nations now possess nuclear weapons. Global rivalries are sharper than they were a decade ago, and the room for human error has quietly become smaller with every technological leap. And this video is not about one missile in the sky. It is about understanding how a modern nuclear conflict actually begins, how a single launch can trigger pressure across continents, how misread signals can spread between superpowers, and how decisions made in a few minutes can push countries onto a path they never intended to take. The real danger in 2025 does not come only from aggression. It comes from confusion, from rushed interpretation, and from systems that are forced to react faster than the people running them. In the next few minutes, we are going to follow a realistic scenario, step by step, to see how a crisis that starts in one corner of the world can grow until major powers are pulled into the same chain of decisions. This is not a prediction. It is a clear way to understand what is at stake and how these moments truly unfold. And if you want more videos that explain complex topics without panic or noise, consider subscribing before we continue. When you look at the world today, you can see pressure points forming in places that were already fragile. Russia and NATO remain locked in tension as the war in Eastern Europe reshapes old borders and old fears. The United States and China navigate a dangerous competition in the Pacific that grows sharper every year. North Korea continues to expand its missile program with launches that often arrive without warning, and the Middle East carries rivalries that can ignite suddenly when the balance shifts. What makes this moment so unstable is the combination of more actors with nuclear capabilities, faster weapons, and systems that can spread uncertainty across continents in seconds. A modern nuclear crisis almost never begins with a dramatic attack. It begins with small signals that analysts must interpret, tiny details that can be misread long before they are confirmed. The first mistake is often confusion, not aggression. A trajectory that looks unfamiliar, a heat signature that does not match expectations, a message that reaches a leader at exactly the wrong moment. To understand how a conflict like this can grow, we are going to follow a realistic model scenario, not as a prediction, but as a way to see how each decision leads to the next. And what is most surprising is that the sequence never starts with noise or chaos. It starts with something quiet, almost ordinary, and that is exactly where our story begins. In our scenario, the first signal comes from North Korea, a country that has spent years testing missiles at unpredictable hours and challenging the limits of regional stability. A single launch rises into the dark, cutting through the sky with the same heat signature that American satellites have seen many times before. The infrared sensors pick it up instantly, but nothing triggers an alarm yet because these satellites record dozens of similar flashes every year, and most of them end quietly as routine tests. Inside the U.S. operations centers, the atmosphere is steady and disciplined. A night shift team watches the numbers appear on their screens while the computers begin calculating altitude, velocity, and the angle of ascent. But something about this pattern makes one analyst lean a little closer because it does not match the familiar rhythm of recent drills. The room is calm, the lights are low, the screens hum softly, and yet there is a subtle change in posture, the kind that happens when instinct tells you that this is not just another test. In these first 2 minutes, nobody knows what it means, but one question rises above all the others. Where is it headed? And as the system refines the trajectory, the first hints of an answer begin to appear, turning a routine detection into the start of a story that no one in that room wants to read. As the missile climbs, the computers begin to sharpen their calculations, and the hope that this might be just another North Korean test starts to slip away. The projected path shifts slowly but clearly toward land, Not the open water corridor that usually signals a drill, but a direction that pulls every set of eyes in the room to the same line on the screen. This is the moment when the first phone calls start. Analysts reaching out to senior officers, officers waking advisors who know that in a situation like this, minutes matter more than perfect information. The president is pulled from sleep with a briefing that feels like a puzzle missing half its pieces. Confirmed numbers mixed with early guesses, the kind of uncertainty no leader ever wants to face before deciding how a nation should respond. And while all of this happens, other countries are watching the same arc in the sky. Russian radar stations track the climb because any unexpected American reaction could shift their own alert level. Chinese analysts study the trajectory to understand whether this is a contained crisis or the beginning of something that could destabilize Asia, and Japan and South Korea follow every update with the urgency of nations living closest to the launch point. Imagine operations rooms on 3 continents, each lit by the same cold glow of monitors, each team interpreting the same streak of data through its own fears and assumptions. In these minutes, the tone changes completely, because what looked routine now carries weight, and every second of misunderstanding pushes multiple nations closer to decisions no one wants to make. It is here, in this narrow space between uncertainty and confirmation, that a local event stops being local. By the time the trajectory becomes impossible to ignore, the United States faces a decision that no nation ever wants to confront. And the hardest part is that they have to make it without the comfort of complete certainty. Inside the Situation Room, the same question returns again and again. Is this a real attack, or is it a malfunction? A misinterpreted launch, or a test that did not follow its usual pattern? The protocols for firing interceptor missiles are clear on paper, but in practice, every option carries its own danger, because responding too aggressively risks triggering a broader confrontation, while reacting too slowly could leave millions exposed if the worst interpretation turns out to be true. Every step takes time, every call to Pacific Command, every cross-check with Indo-Pacific sensors, every attempt to confirm intent with allies in Seoul and Tokyo. The screens update second by second, each revision of the trajectory adding pressure, each silence on a verification channel raising the stakes a little higher. You can almost feel the weight in those rooms. Advisors calculating consequences that multiply with each minute that passes. In moments like this, uncertainty is not just uncomfortable, it is a threat of its own, because hesitation can be disastrous and a rushed decision can be irreversible. And just when the situation feels fragile enough, a new alert flashes across the monitors. A second launch detected on the other side of the peninsula, a signal that instantly changes the meaning of everything that came before. When the second launch is detected, the uncertainty that everyone has been trying to manage collapses instantly, because one missile can be an error, a malfunction, or a misread test. But 2 launches within minutes of each other almost never are. The moment the new heat signature appears on the satellite feed, the posture inside every operations center changes at once. Chairs pull forward, voices grow sharper, and the protocols shift from careful analysis to full emergency readiness. In the United States, teams begin coordinating with South Korea and Japan to compare trajectories. In Russia, early warning officers watch the American response even more closely because any sudden movement could affect their own alert level. And in China, analysts study both launches to determine whether the crisis is regional or the beginning of something that could destabilize the entire Pacific. Around the world, governments begin activating communication channels that almost never open at this hour, trying to understand whether they are looking at a limited strike meant to send a message or the first stage of something larger. The diplomatic networks that are usually quiet in the middle of the night light up as leaders ask the same question in different languages: how far is this going to go? In the span of a few minutes, the crisis stops belonging to one country on one peninsula, because now multiple nations are forced to react, to interpret, and to prepare for outcomes that a moment ago were only theoretical. At this point, it is no longer an isolated event. As the second launch removes any doubt that this is more than a misunderstanding, the focus of other major powers sharpens in a way that only a small circle of people on the planet ever witness. In Russia, the early warning system tracks not only the North Korean missiles,
but the movements of American forces, because a sudden shift in U.S. posture could signal a response that Moscow must interpret quickly to avoid being caught off guard. In China, analysts study both trajectories alongside real-time updates of American and South Korean aircraft, trying to determine whether they are watching a limited defensive reaction or the early outline of an escalation that might spread across the region. The danger in these minutes is not just the missiles already in the air, it is the possibility that a country misreads what it sees on its radar. Because global nuclear forces are built to react fast, and they often jump to higher alert levels before diplomats have time to understand what is happening. Secure rooms in Washington, Moscow, Beijing, Seoul, and Tokyo fill with people who rarely speak publicly but hold enormous responsibility. Analysts leaning toward screens, generals asking for confirmation, and diplomats quietly attempting to open channels that might slow the momentum. But missiles move faster than conversation, and in this narrow window, every nation is forced to make decisions based on its own fears and its own assumptions, hoping others see the same picture. It is in this fragile moment, when several powers react to the same event through completely different lenses, that the story can split into two very different paths. From this moment, the crisis can move in two very different directions, and understanding these paths is the key to seeing how modern nuclear strategy actually works. In the first scenario, the one most experts consider the most realistic, the situation stays contained because every leader involved recognizes that a wider conflict would bring consequences that no nation could control. Diplomatic channels open at full speed, urgent messages move between capitals that do not usually cooperate, and even countries that disagree on almost everything try to slow the momentum before it crosses a line that cannot be walked back. In the second scenario, the danger comes from something far simpler, a single misinterpretation. One country sees a move on its radar, assumes the worst, and reacts in a way that forces others to escalate in return. In a world where missiles outrun conversation by thousands of miles per hour, a misunderstanding like this can grow on its own, spreading from one defense system to another and pulling more powers into the chain until a regional event becomes a global emergency. There is nothing dramatic or cinematic about these steps. It is simply the way complex systems react when pressure rises and time disappears. And to understand what that looks like outside of these secure rooms, we need to look at what happens in the very first hours when the world begins to feel the impact. In the first hours of a nuclear crisis, the world would not collapse, but it would begin to bend in ways that most people have never experienced. Power grids might flicker or drift out of balance as energy networks respond to sudden stress, communication lines would slow as governments secure their channels, and millions of people try to call family at the same moment, and airports could pause departures while security teams check whether the launches are limited or the start of something wider. Financial markets, which react faster than any government can speak, would swing sharply as investors attempt to protect themselves, creating waves of uncertainty long before the public knows what is actually happening. Governments would move quickly to stabilize essential systems, issue careful messages, and activate emergency protocols designed to keep society calm while information is still incomplete. For ordinary people, the first signs would be small but unsettling. A phone call that does not connect on the first try, a bank app that loads more slowly than usual, a news alert that contradicts the one before it, a flight suddenly delayed with no explanation. It would feel like the world is holding its breath, as if something important is happening just out of sight. These early effects are not the end of the world, but they reveal how tightly connected modern life is, and how quickly those connections can shake when global systems come under pressure. And this is the moment when we shift from the behavior of nations to the part of the story that each of us can actually control. In the first days of instability, the goal is not to prepare for the end of the world. It is simply to keep your life steady, while the larger systems around you take a moment to recover. The most important thing is communication, because when networks become overloaded or unreliable, you want at least one dependable way to reach the people you care about, even if it is something as simple as a charged power bank or a small battery radio that does not rely on cell towers. A little energy reserve helps more than most people realize. A portable charger, a small solar panel, or even a few extra batteries can keep your phone and essential lights running when the grid stumbles. Having a safe and quiet place inside your home, away from windows, and built with the idea of staying calm rather than hiding, gives you the mental space to think clearly. Water is another quiet essential, not because faucets will stop instantly, but because short interruptions in treatment plants or local pipelines can happen when the system is under pressure. None of this is about fear. It is about easing the stress of moments when the world feels loud and uncertain. Imagine a brief outage during a tense news cycle. The lights flicker, the connection drops, and instead of scrambling or feeling lost, you reach for the things you set aside earlier and continue your evening with a sense of control. That feeling, the moment when you stay grounded even while the world shakes a little, is what real preparedness is designed to give you. When you look back at this entire chain, from a single bright signal rising into the night to several nations reacting under pressure, you begin to understand that a modern nuclear crisis is not shaped by sudden chaos, but by systems trying to interpret one another, by decisions made with incomplete information, and by the speed at which uncertainty spreads across the world. And seeing this clearly does something important. It replaces fear with perspective. Because once you understand how these moments actually unfold, you realize that staying calm, thoughtful, and prepared is far more powerful than imagining worst-case scenarios. Before you go, I want to ask you something personal, something simple but revealing. If the world felt uncertain for just a few hours, what is the one thing in your home that would help you stay centered and steady? Your answer might give someone else the clarity they need the next time the news feels heavier than usual. And if you want more videos that explain complex situations with calm and without panic, consider subscribing so we can keep navigating this world together.